My name is Naomi Carter, and I'm 34 years old. I work as a licensed clinical social worker at a community center. I help families through grief, addiction, and trauma. The irony, at my own mother's funeral, I was the one being called unstable. Growing up, my older sister Lauren was the one they always praised. Straight A's, cheer captain, the favorite daughter who could do no wrong. I was the quiet one, the emotional one, the one who asked too many questions and felt things too deeply for anyone's comfort. When I chose psychology as a career, Lauren laughed and said, "So you're getting paid to talk about feelings." I wasn't rich or glamorous. I drove a used Honda and rented a small apartment with thin walls and noisy neighbors. But I showed up for Mom every single week during her chemo treatments, and I organized her medication into labeled containers. I held her hand when she was scared and couldn't sleep at 3 a.m. Lauren sent flowers and posted long tributes online about what an amazing daughter she was. After Mom passed, I thought we would grieve together. I thought loss would bring us closer. I didn't know Lauren had something else planned entirely. If you've ever been labeled or misunderstood by your own family, hit that subscribe button right now. Do you know what it feels like to be painted as the problem when you're just trying to survive? Tell me in the comments. I'm listening. And click hype if you believe the truth always comes out. The funeral was held at a small town chapel inside Greenfield Funeral Home. About 60 guests filled the wooden pews. Neighbors, church friends, Mom's old coworkers from the post office. The air smelled like lilies and furniture polish, and the carpet muffled every footstep so the room felt unnaturally still. Lauren stood at the front podium in a black dress that looked brand new. She gave a polished speech about Mom's strength and dignity. Her voice cracked at just the right moments. People nodded. A few dabbed their eyes. Then she shifted tone. "Mom worried about Naomi," she said, glancing in my direction. "She always said Naomi struggled." Murmurs rippled through the rows. I could feel heads turning. My chest tightened. I leaned forward and whispered, "What are you doing?" Lauren looked at me with soft eyes that hid something sharp beneath them. Under her breath, she replied, "Protecting what's left of this family." After the service, while guests gathered around the refreshment table picking at finger sandwiches and small cookies, Lauren pulled me into the hallway. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead. She placed her hand on my arm, the way you'd calm a child. "I think it's best if I handle Mom's estate," she said. "You don't need that kind of stress right now." I stared at her. She wasn't offering help. She was positioning herself as the responsible daughter and me as the fragile one who couldn't be trusted. As guests lined up to offer condolences, I overheard her telling our Aunt Denise near the coat rack, "Mom changed some things before she passed. We'll sort it out soon." My stomach dropped. I never heard about any changes. Mom never mentioned anything like that to me. Just as Lauren was consoling people and accepting hugs like she was the only daughter who mattered, a middle-aged man in a dark suit approached me quietly. He had gray at his temples and carried a slim briefcase. "Are you Naomi Carter?" he asked in a low voice. I nodded. He reached into his briefcase and handed me a sealed envelope. Cream-colored, heavy, my name written on the front in my mother's handwriting. "Your mother asked me to give this to you personally," he said, "not your sister." I held it with both hands. Across the room, Lauren noticed. Her smile disappeared instantly. Lauren didn't waste any time after the funeral. Within 48 hours, she began calling relatives and painting a very specific picture of me. She told our Aunt Denise that I'd had episodes in the past and past. She brought up a panic attack I'd had in college nearly 15 years ago as proof that I couldn't handle responsibility. She mentioned it casually, like it was common knowledge. "We don't want Naomi overwhelmed," she said sweetly to our uncle on the phone. "She's fragile. She always has been." She always has been. I tried to defend myself. I called Aunt Denise to explain that one panic attack during finals week didn't define my mental health. But I could hear it in her voice. The hesitation, the careful pauses. People already looked unsure. Lauren's words had planted seeds and they were growing fast. That was the first betrayal. The second came 3 days later. Lauren announced to the family that she had already spoken to an attorney about probate. She claimed Mom had verbally agreed that Lauren would manage everything, the savings, the house, The insurance policy. When I asked to see paperwork, any documentation at all, she tilted her head like I was being difficult. "You're being paranoid, Naomi," she said. "This is exactly what I'm talking about." She framed every question I asked as proof of instability. If I pushed back, I was being aggressive. If I stayed quiet, she took it as agreement. She had built a trap with no exit. The third betrayal was the quietest and maybe the cruelest. I noticed the family group chat had gone silent on my end. At first, I thought people were just busy. Then Rachel told me the truth. They had created a new chat without me. Key conversations about the estate, about mom's belongings, about scheduling, all happening without my knowledge. Cousins stopped replying to my individual messages. My texts sat unanswered with single check marks that never turned to double. Then Lauren posted something online. She didn't name me directly, but wrote, "Some people grieve by creating drama. Others grieve by holding the family together." 42 likes, 12 comments agreeing with her. In our small town where everyone knew everyone, my professional reputation felt like it was hanging by a thread. I started to doubt myself. Just for a moment, maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was too emotional, but only for a moment because the sealed envelope was still in my purse, untouched. Waiting. What they didn't know was that Mom and I had private conversations during her final months. Late at night, when the house was quiet and the only sound was the oxygen machine humming beside her bed, she talked to me about things she never shared with Lauren. She once grabbed my wrist gently, looked me in the eyes, and said, "Not everyone who speaks confidently tells the truth, Naomi. Remember that." At the time, I thought she was being philosophical. Now I understood she was giving me a warning. She saw it clearly. The envelope felt heavy in my hands, not just with paper, but with intention. Something deliberate lived inside it. I didn't open it at the funeral home. I didn't open it that night or the next day. I waited. Something told me timing mattered more than curiosity. Lauren believed she had already secured everything. She acted like the outcome was settled, like the story was written and she was the hero in every chapter. But my mother was never careless with important things. She labeled every medicine bottle. She filed every receipt. She kept handwritten lists in a drawer by her bed, and she was never fooled by performance, no matter how polished it looked. My cousin Rachel found me sitting in my car outside the funeral home the day after the burial. She tapped on my window and climbed into the passenger seat without asking. Rachel was the family outsider. She dropped out of college, worked odd jobs, said what she thought too loudly at holidays. People dismissed her. But Rachel had something rare. She was honest. "I don't buy what Lauren's saying," she whispered, pulling her jacket tight. Tight? Not for 1 second. And she told me something that changed everything. Rachel admitted she had overheard Lauren arguing with Mom about money months ago during one of her rare visits. "They were in the kitchen," Rachel said. Lauren wanted to know about the will. She kept pushing. "Your mom sounded firm." Not confused. Back in me? Not weak. Firm. Rachel looked at me and said, "Whatever Lauren's telling people about Mom's state of mind, it's not what I heard." She offered to sit with me when I finally opened the envelope. I told her not yet. Meanwhile, Lauren moved forward like a woman with no doubts. Taoist. She scheduled a formal will reading for the following week at a local attorney's office. She told relatives, "Everything's already clear. This is just a formality." She assumed the sealed envelope was sentimental. Maybe a goodbye letter, maybe an old photo. She didn't give it a second thought. The family began treating Lauren like the decision maker. They called her first. They copied her on emails. They asked her permission for things that weren't hers to give. The night before the will reading, Rachel squeezed my hand across my kitchen table. "Whatever's in that envelope," she said quietly, "you're not alone." The will reading was held on a Tuesday morning in a small conference room at the office of Mom's estate attorney. The room had beige walls and a long oval table surrounded by padded chairs. Air conditioning hummed low, and the fluorescent lights gave everything a flat, sterile look. Lauren arrived early. She sat upright at the head of the table like she owned the room. She wore a navy blouse and had her hair pulled back neatly. She was already smiling, greeting relatives. Shaking the attorney's hand like this was her meeting. I sat across from her. Rachel sat beside me. The attorney, a gray-haired man named Mr. Whitmore, opened a folder and began reading the formal will. Most assets were divided evenly between Lauren and me, savings split down the middle. Personal belongings shared. Lauren exhaled in visible relief. She even nodded slightly, as if confirming what she already expected. I reached into my bag and placed the sealed envelope on the table. Lauren's eyes locked onto it. Mr. Whitmore picked it up carefully, examined the seal, and opened it. He read silently for a long moment. Then he looked up. "This appears to be a codicil amendment to the original will," he said. "Properly witnessed and notarized." Lauren's voice came out tight and fast. "That's not valid. She was sick." She wasn't thinking clearly. Mr. Whitmore continued reading the document aloud. "Mom had appointed me as sole executor of the estate, citing my professional judgment and consistent presence during her illness. She also left me the house outright. The words she used were written clearly in her own hand. For the daughter who showed up, Lauren's face drained of all color. Her lips parted, but nothing came out for several seconds. Then she whispered, "She wouldn't do that." Mr. Whitmore confirmed that the signatures and witnesses were valid. The document met every legal requirement. Lauren tried one more time. She looked around the table and said, "Naomi can't handle this. She's not equipped." I looked at her calmly. My voice didn't shake. "I handle crisis for a living, Lauren." Silence filled the room so completely I could hear the air conditioner cycling. For the first time in my entire life, no one in that room questioned my stability. Lauren left the attorney's office without speaking to me. She didn't look back. Some relatives avoided eye contact as they shuffled out. Others stopped briefly, touched my shoulder, and quietly apologized for not asking my side sooner. I didn't need grand gestures. Those small moments were enough. I moved into Mom's house the following month. Not as a trophy, not as proof that I won something, but as a reminder that my mother trusted me, even when no one else did. Rachel helped me repaint the living room. We chose a warm yellow, the same shade Mom always talked about, but never got around to using. We played her favorite music while we worked and didn't say much. We didn't need to. My reputation recovered slowly as the truth spread through town the way it always does. Quietly through whispered corrections and secondhand retellings. People who had believed Lauren's version started to see the full picture. Lauren's narrative fell apart because it was built on control, not facts and Burnett. It was built on volume, not truth. And when the actual documents were laid on the table, there was nothing loud enough to drown them out. I didn't need to shout to win. I didn't need to post online or make speeches or convince anyone with dramatic gestures. I just needed the truth to be read out loud in a quiet room. Sometimes strength isn't loud, it's steady. And this time, steady was enough. If someone in your family ever tried to label you as unstable just to gain control over a situation, you know how deep that cuts. It goes beyond words. It rewrites who you are in other people's eyes. Share your story in the comments. I want to hear how you handled it. Subscribe if you believe your voice deserves to be heard. And click hype to help this story reach others who need it. Your story has power. Who need it. Your story has power. If you felt a connection to mine, please subscribe and share your journey in the comments. Every hype you give this video helps empower someone else who is going through the same thing. Thank you for being here and for listening.